am super excited to introduce my guest. He's a veteran actor with over 37 movies, over 250 television appearances. He's worked with some of the biggest directors in Hollywood, like Steven Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, Michael Bay, David Mamet, Guillermo del Toro, Anton Fuqua, George Clooney, just to name a few. I want to welcome the extremely talented Max Martini to the podcast. Welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So, I created this podcast to inspire young artists to follow their dreams, right? If a kid like me could come out to Hollywood at 18 with $200 in my pocket, a one-way ticket, didn't know a soul out here, and make the dream a reality, then why can't the listener out there, right? If a guy like you can come out from, where'd you come out, New York?
New York, yeah.
And make the dream a reality. I mean, you're playing with all the big boys, the A-list, you're there. You've made the dream a reality. I mean, I looked at your IMDb. I mean, it's crazy on who you've worked with. I mean, it's amazing. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain and know, like, first off, how did you know, when did you know you wanted to become an actor?
Well, let's see. I'll go back a little bit. My dad, my father, my biological father, was an artist. He was a sculptor from Italy, from Rome, Italy. I was born in New York. He was living in New York at the time. And when he and my mother separated, my mother remarried an actor, writer, director, producer. So I had an intro just by virtue of my mother marrying into the business. So my stepfather would kind of, when he was directing something, he'd go, "Hey, run over there and say this." I mean, I never really there was never an intention to plant any seeds or but he would throw me into scenes occasionally, which just, I think, to show me a good time. So
how old were you?
Very young, like probably 10,
okay,
11, 12. So continued school, never, it didn't really become anything. And then I started acting out of high school. But when I say I started acting, I got an agent. Not a very good one, was going out on auditions, not getting any bites. And it was very frustrating. And so I stopped and I went back to college and I got my degree in fine arts. And when I got out of university in New York City, I got an audition for a movie, a big one. And because I had quit acting and because I wasn't so invested emotionally in succeeding, I booked this film. And I think there's some value in that. Maybe we'll talk about it, but I got this movie and I never looked back. I never went back. It started this chain of events and I ended up in LA and the casting woman said, "You got to stay here. This is a big opportunity." And so I moved and here I am 30 years later still.
So what film was that?
That was Contact.
Wow.
It was Jodie Foster, Robert Zemeckis directed it, Matthew McConaughey, James Woods, bunch of, big.
So did you get your SAG card on that, or did you already have your SAG card?
I think I got my SAG card on that, probably. I might have had it. This is going back a ways, but no, I think I might have had it. Maybe, maybe I had to,
Not a bad first film.
Yeah, it was a pretty good first game. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about that. Not caring, going into an audition, like not trying to get anything, going in there freed up, like, I'm just going to go have some fun. There's an energy to that, I know for me, I mean, I've been doing this, I got my SAG card in 1985. So I've been around the block a few times. And I know when those projects where I was just going in just to have some fun, I didn't care. I wasn't desperate because they can smell desperation a mile away. They can smell fear a mile away. But when you go in there and you've made some big choices and you're, playing, then that's just a completely different energy. And I teach my actors that all the time is go in there and have fun, make some big choices and play. So
Yeah.
you going in there not being like, oh, I got to get this job just to go in there and go is probably what freed you up in that room.
This is I liken it to a golf swing, right? The more relaxed you are, the easier you swing, the straighter your ball and the further it goes, right? And when you try to crush it, you shank it. And this is kind of this was like a lesson that, you know, I had to quit because I didn't understand that. And every time I got an audition, I'd go in and I try to hit a home run, and you know, I try to come in with these big performances, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, I did a movie for John Dahl one time, and you know, I had this idea for this scene. It was like the one kind of meaty scene that I had in this movie, and I wanted to make a meal out of it. And he was like, Max, it's, you know, this isn't television. This is like, you're on a massive screen. You don't have to do anything. Just communicate.
Hmm.
Just communicate the intention, and it's going to be amazing. Stop trying to, you know. So I think the less that I did make choices, though. Like, I make interesting choices, and I try to not make obvious choices. So I usually try to do the least obvious thing. But yeah, the more, I think the key is relaxation, and not really uh, in desperation, not becoming in desperate, because you're right, you can't relax if you're desperate, and there's something about that's it's a repellent, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's great direction. You know, you're enough. You don't have to do anything. Keep it
Right.
simple. Just communicate. Just listen, react. Just be in the moment. Don't try to act. You know,
Don't
keep it
try to
simple.
act.
Yeah.
That's the advice that I give every young actor that asks me, you know, if I could tell them what, you know, what was the key to working in the business. It's just don't act. Don't try to act. Be natural. David Mamet, well, I did a movie for him, and
Awesome.
amazing experience. But I mean, so my scene was the first scene, day one, first scene up of the film, and he goes, okay, so it was me and Chiwetel Ejiofor and a bunch of actors, and we're all standing around. We have our sides, and he goes, okay, let's just say the words. I had the first line of the thing. Literally opened my mouth, and he goes, no, 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 don't put anything into it. Everything that you need is on the page. Now, I think it's a little extreme, but there's, you know, that's the extreme. If you take what we're talking about to the extreme, that's kind of Mamet's style, right? Is not
Yeah.
to do much, is to really just kind of listen and say the, you know, and say the words that he's given you. Stand on your mark and say the words.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a great piece of advice. I once went into an audition for, Bobby Moresco,
I love,
Academy Award winner, Bobby,
love
right? So it was for his TV series Falcone, and it was, Wise Guy show in New York City. And I came into, to New York to read. And, I came in and I had, the wife beat on. I had a toothpick in my mouth. I was, playing up the New York accent. And then Bobby in the middle, he said, whoa, whoa. He said, hold, come here, Billy. Come here, come here. He says, what are you doing? And I go, what? He goes, you don't have to do all that. You have that naturally. That's who you are. Don't do any of that. Get rid of that. And I was like, oh. He said, you're enough. And I went, oh, wow, I'm
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
And I got it. It was the greatest piece of direction I ever got, man. He said, don't do anything, man. You already have that. That's in your essence. That's who you are. You
Yeah.
know?
My second audition, so my second meeting after first meeting after Contact was Saving Private Ryan, was Spielberg, and I remember getting the audition and going, there's no way that I am going to get this. Like, and I went in and I didn't do anything. I didn't do it. I was like, this is so ridiculous that I'm even in this room. And I went in, and I came in with the right intentions, but I definitely uh, did not think in a million years I was going to get this job, and I got it. And it just and it really, like, it was that moment that I went, oh my God, it's that easy. And that's what they're looking for. And I've been a director on the other side now, and I've directed my two features.
That's awesome. Congrats.
I love it. It's something I may love it more than acting. I really like. There's something about it. It's so creative. But being on the other side of the table
Mm.
and looking for actors that uh, that are going to be an asset to your story, and that you want to work with, that are collaborative,
Mm.
right? That have personalities that you want to spend 2 months with.
Yeah.
There's all these factors, right? If you could be a great actor, but if you come in and you're not personable, why would they want to do a series with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
no.
so you have these opportunities in the room or on Zoom now to, like, show them who you are, show them how personable you are, and then showcase your talent. And um and it's very interesting being on the other side, picking the right people. And on that note, here's another thing that I say to young actors, is that you can't take the rejection personally, because my first movie, I was given a list of actors to choose from, right? And on that list were three columns, four columns: A, B, C, and YouTube sensations. Okay. Yeah, I know. And so it's formulaic the way they put this together. You can choose one actor from column A and you'll get your financing. You can choose two actors from column B and one actor from column C, and you'll get your financing. Three actors from column C and one YouTube star, and you'll get your financing. So a lot of these companies use this kind of formula to recoup their initial investment, right? And as a safeguard, and it's very frustrating. So sometimes you're auditioning guys that, if you get your actor from column A, you can cast these guys as supporting leads, right? But this is who there's the actors that you want, there's the actors that are being kind of forced down your throat. So if you happen to lose out to an actor from column B, it's just, you never know why you're not getting the job. And sometimes it has zero to do with your audition. That could have been the most brilliant audition they'd seen, but you can't let it affect you and your confidence and your ability to relax in front of people or in a room and perform, right, to your utmost ability.
That's great advice. I mean, I've been on the other side of the table too, and it's a great as an actor, just to know walking, when you have those actors walking into the room, their energy, their behavior, they're judging you, like, from the moment you walk into the room, so it's not about you, it's a business, and then X plus Y equals Z. So just know that going in there, your only job is to have fun in there.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
they want you to win. Like,
yeah, they're
they're on
rooting
your
for you.
side, right?
Sure.
They
But
want you to succeed.
yeah, I mean, they have a problem. You're
Right.
the solution.
Exactly.
That's it. You got to go into the end. They have a problem. I'm the solution. That's it. You're welcome. I've done all the work. I've outworked everybody. I know my backstory, my character. I know his childhood. I know what he's got in his pockets. I know where he's coming from. I know where he's going. I got an animal. I mean, I don't know your approach to the craft, but it's choices.
Yeah.
Talent lies within your choices. The bigger, the bolder, the stronger your choices, the more fun you're gonna have when you're coming into the room. Because now it's not like, I hope you like me, or please, I really need this job. It's like, you're welcome.
No, you really have to be a warrior. You need a warrior spirit to succeed in Hollywood, and it's the most amazing business in the world if you know when you get there. But it's getting there. You really have to be determined. You have to constantly be working on your craft, and so that you're prepared, right? When you get an audition with 24 hours notice, that you know you can do these, you know how to learn an accent, you know, in 24 hours. You know how to make these, you know, I have a list of questions that I used to use as an actor breaking down a character, and you know, where is he coming from, where is he going, what does he want. I'm sure you do all this stuff, and you know, and what's the journey, right? If it's not on the page, what journey am I going to create for this guy, right? What are his obstacles, what are his triumphs, what are his, you know. So you know, it's just being prepared and having thick skin, you know. I mean, I was given a pilot. I auditioned 4 or 5 times, right, for an Amazon show, and Shane Black was directing it. They gave me the show, and I went to New Mexico. Did makeup tests and camera tests, and started, you know, rehearsing on horseback and weapons training and this and that as a Western, and got fired at the table reading, right? Went back to my hotel room. I called my manager. I said, I don't know what's happening, but everyone's ignoring me. And you know, I think the reading went really poorly. But I'm going to tell you, like, I was the only actor in the room. They had brought in all these readers, so there wasn't much I could do, you know, with these guys. So, but and then went to Shane Black. I said, "Hey, what is happening? What's going on? I was your guy." And he said, "Well, they're not feeling, you know, they're not feeling it. The table read didn't go like they planned." I was like, "Well, let me win it back. Get a camera. Let's go in the room. Come on, you chose me. Like, let's give them. What do they tell me? What they want, you know?" And we went into an office and we recorded this thing for about 2.5 hours, and I won it back.
Wow.
And then it was, dude. I mean, it's no, I can't like. It's so crazy, but that experience of getting the lead in my own series, a Western, a bucket list show job for me, right? Losing it in the room, that could have crushed me had I let it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that warrior mentality, like, I'm not going down like this. And I went back in and I won it back, you know. And
Love that.
so it's just like you just have to have that fierce, you know, determination and confidence in yourself. And
Did you always have that? Or was this something that, you know, I mean, when you first started going out on auditions, did you get nervous going into the room?
I started to get confident when probably during the filming of Contact. Like I didn't have that confidence, but I think like when you're across from somebody like Jodie Foster, when you're acting with somebody that and you're you know, you're returning service, right? And so now you're in this match with this, you know, actor that you have so much respect for, and you're holding court. You know, it gives you a little bit of,
Hmm.
maybe I can do this. Maybe there's a
Sure.
spot for me in this business, you know, like. And then you know, and then I figured out kind of this. Private Ryan started this kind of you know, chain of events, and that I was getting all these like military films, right? And I was like, okay, well, so they like me to play this guy. And then I was like, I kept thinking, how do I rework this? How do I make this character vulnerable? Like, how do I, what's the not so obvious way to interpret, you know, this guy, right?
Love
And
that.
so, yeah. So like I did, you know, a military series for Mammoth, not the movie I was telling you about, but I did a show for 4 years for him called The Unit. And I had this really conflicted, kind of tortured guy that we created, character that we created. And then, I did 13 Hours, and I did Captain Phillips, and I did, they're all soldiers, but I think that I bring a bit of humanity to these guys that are barking orders, and I try to show some, inner, conflict, I guess, turmoil.
Well, I got to tell you, I kind of looked at your work, and I had seen your work before, but I've seen your face, but I didn't really know your work.
Yeah.
And I watched your work, and I got to tell you, I mean, I was blown away, because that's what you're bringing this hard shell, right? A military guy, but you're exposing the vulnerability, the pain of the character, and that's a beautiful thing. I tell my actors all the time, is your vulnerability is your strength.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some beautiful emotional stuff, tears in your eyes, and it's just like, you know, most of the guys reading for the military role, they're going to play that one note military hoorah, guy. But
Right.
you're giving them something else. You're giving them humanity. You're giving them the pain. The guy who's been through war, that's seen his friends die in war, and come back kind of damaged. And so I mean, there's some beautiful work. So I applaud your
Thank you.
work. Bravo.
So nice of you. Thanks.
Yeah. But that's cool. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, it's castability. For a young actor coming into town, you got to know, it's a business. You're a product. You're selling a product to Hollywood. You got to know what you're selling. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know for me, when I first came out to Hollywood at 18, I knew what I was selling. I was a street kid from Brooklyn who, was running around the streets, ran away from home at 15. I was running, doing stupid shit. Well, when I came out to Hollywood, I knew that's what I was selling. I was selling that guy. So, I went from doing that shit on the streets to doing it on television and getting paid for it, and then, in TV land, you can wipe off the blood, I mean, when I was running the streets, seeing my friend get shot in the head in front of me, there's no take two, So literally that, moments like that in my life changed my life. And I said, you know what, I got to get out of here. I'm going to be an actor. But when I came out to Hollywood, people told me, you got to get rid of that New York accent. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I was like, fuck no, this is who I am. This is my castability. And that's what made me work. And, I played every juvenile delinquent, troublemaker, tough guy, I played them all. But you did the same. I mean, you found, after Saving Private Ryan, you found your niche. You found that thing that, you're playing these war heroes. So do you feel like knowing your castability has helped you as an actor?
I mean, what you said something really important, and it's, the understanding that this is a business, right? And know what you're selling, right? So look, I mean, I think I'm capable of playing all kinds of characters, right? And I've done comedies that nobody's ever seen. I think I'm hilarious. Nobody else does. You know what I mean? But I know that I'm capable of doing more than what I've been given the opportunity to do a lot. I do get asked to do a whole, array of different characters and personalities. But what I would say, as a piece of advice is know what you're a slam dunk for, right? Because here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to miss out on the golden years. You don't want to spend 20 years in Hollywood fighting for characters that you can play, but that you really are going to have to sell to people, because no one is going to see you in those shoes, obviously, immediately, right? So my advice to people would be like, just attack the roles that are easy to get in the door, make your name, make your mark. And then once you've made a mark, then you can tell these agents, hey, look, send me up for other shit. I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like, give me some, let's keep the money coming in, but give me some opportunities that I can, stretch myself creatively, right? That aren't obvious choices for me. So, the military thing has, I've built a career on it, and it's like, I mean, like I still have pinch me moments. Like having worked with these people is just insane, and I'm so lucky. But it's gotten me into agencies and into rooms very easily that normally, there's a short list of guys that maybe get seen for certain roles, and I'm generally on that short list because of having worked in this world, right? So when you go in and you tell your agent, hey, you look like you could play a cop, right? And you go in and say, look, I want to play a cop. I want to get on a show as a cop. I want to get on, the next NYPD Blue. I want to get on, whatever it is, right? And then they go, oh yeah, that's easy. We can get them on that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make money. I want to get on. I want to get in the world. I want to get my foot in. I want to get, and this is easy for me. And I've got military training and I've got weapons training, and I'm ready to go, right? I think I think it's a good way to, I think you have to understand how to sell yourself. And what I do know, fact, is that agents and managers want to do the least amount of work possible.
Yeah. You got to serve it up for them. You got to deliver it on a silver platter for them. Like
tee it up. Yeah.
With my actors here, when they come to me and they knock on the door and they want to be an actor, they don't know how to get started. First thing I do is I do a castability survey. What is it what kind of roles do you see yourself playing? Well, I see myself playing a cop. I see myself playing a mob guy. I see myself playing a military. Great. Well, let's focus on that, right? And then let's find pieces of material that show you actually playing that part. Let's find that monologue of a detective or that military role. Let's rehearse it. Let's shoot it. Let's have that piece of footage, that 30 seconds of a minute of you playing a police officer or playing a military and wise guy, and cut that into a 2-minute reel and have that as your calling card going, hey, look at me. Now, I'm not leaving anything to their imagination. I'm serving it up going, look, I can do this. It's right there. And it's a no-brainer for them to sell you to, let's say, an NYPD Blue. They send that cop piece of material over there with your headshot, and oh, he's a cop. He looks like a cop, sounds like a cop. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, this is before we got on. I was saying I think it's easier nowadays, right, than we had it.
Sure.
So when we were young guys trying to break in, you had to have a monologue in your back pocket. I mean, now, you can look. If I was starting out right today, this is what I'd do. I'd take $5,000. And I'd go find my filmmaker buddies and, or some aspiring director from film school. And I would rent a camera and I would get a sound guy and an editor, right? And I'd shoot a scene, a 3-minute scene, and I'd edit it together and I'd make it look like something that came out of a feature film. And I'd use that tape, and that was the thing when you and I were starting. It was so hard to get tape. And you couldn't get tape if you weren't in SAG, and you couldn't get a job, unless, it was just like, there was this kind of, but now with, in this age of technology and digital photography, you can shoot your own scenes, and hey, man, if you, you don't want to play cops. Maybe you look like a cop. You don't want to play cops. Shoot the other character. Go, if that, but you can literally pave your way into Hollywood because people will look at 2 minutes of tape. You know?
Listen, when I came out to Hollywood, there was ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it. I helped start the Fox network, launch the network with my TV series back, that I had with Matthew Perry. And that was in 1987. Okay. But there was HBO. That was the big one, HBO. But then, that was it. So if I wanted to, I literally had to book the show. Then I had to go to this guy named Jan Natarno. I don't know if you remember him. He used to record it off of on a 3/4 tape, and then he'd sell it to you on a VHS copy.
Right. Right. I remember all this.
But now actors have a little phone in their pocket. They got a movie studio, man. They can write, they can shoot, they can edit, they can have their own TV series on YouTube. YouTube. They can have their own Vimeo, Reels. I mean, they can reach out to casting directors through social media. They can follow them. They can let them know, show them their talent. They can build their brand. I mean, now it is so much easier. Plus, there's a zillion places, content out there that, shows. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. So why not create your own projects? I mean, you said $5,000. Yeah, if you wanted to go that way and shoot it, and you had some, get some real equipment and stuff. But these fucking iPhones today, excuse my French, the technology, the cameras. I mean, I have the expensive camera. My new iPhone shoots, great footage. You got good lighting. You can literally do it on your iPhone. You find that right location, you get the wardrobe, you frame it right, you light it right, you could do it on the cheap and have 30 seconds of you playing that character that it's going to be your calling card.
My oldest son is in film school in New York right now. And when he had to submit his film, right, to get in, or make a short film to submit to get accepted, we spent about $5,000, maybe a little bit less, but but I was like, look, dude, it's very competitive. It's very competitive, and you've got to do, even auditioning. It's like when I get an audition, and I still audition. When I get an audition, I'll go out, and because I also direct, but I direct the audition. Like if I'm talking to, like I did a thing for a Robert Rodriguez movie, and we were in a parking lot. I had the scene guy, the guy that was across from me, and the other character. The camera was over his shoulder, right? I came in really wide off of La Brea, turned into this parking lot, drove into an over the shoulder, did half the scene sitting in the car, landed in an over, right? Got out of the car, came around, turned the camera around. I mean, it was choreographed. The sound was mixed. It was color corrected. It was letterboxed.
I love it.
I mean, that's the level of you've got to, that's where.
Why not? Why not? Exactly. I tell my actors that all the time, right? Listen, it's a very, it's now the doors have been opened to them, right? They do have a lot more opportunity now with self-tapes. If I'm a casting director and I don't know you and you're not on my list, I would probably not bring you into the room back in the day. But now, yeah, put yourself on tape. I could look at 2 minutes of tape, or not, but I'm more likely to let you into the room, via self-tape than before walking into the room in front of a bunch of producers.
Right.
Now, if I have thousands of tapes that I got to go through, right, and I'm going to see the guy with the wrinkled curtain and the sides in his hand and the poorly lit and the thing, I'm literally going next. But then, boom, all of a sudden you come on screen and it's lit right, it's framed right, it's shot right. You're giving me I can take your footage and put it right on the fucking TV screen, or put it on the movie screen. I've done your job for you.
That's exactly what my agent did. She sent it in and she said, tell Robert to just cut this into
I love that.
Really, man.
Yeah.
It used to be the headshots. You used to have the headshot that stopped them, right? Mm-hmm. So they get us a pile of photographs. They go through them, and then they go, oh,
wow.
Put him on the board. Okay, keep going. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the same. You got to stop him.
Exactly. So why not take your self-tapes to the next level? Any opportunity you get, don't treat it like an audition. Treat it like you already got the job. You're on set. You're filming it. You're, wardrobe, hair, makeup, lights, the whole production. Give it to them. Serve it up on a silver platter so once they see you, go, oh my gosh, that's my guy. Right? Because once again, they have a problem. You've solved their problem for them. You're literally giving them the performance. I don't like to look at it as an audition. I like to give them, I've already done the job. You're welcome,
Yeah, 100%.
Love that. So, since it's changed from going into the room to self-tapes, I mean, what did you prefer walking into the room, or do you prefer self-tapes?
Love self-tapes.
Cool. Why?
I'm happy with the way it is. Because I can do it again. Because I like, I know sometimes it's difficult to know what's reading. You know what I mean? Like I know that I'm connected, but then sometimes I'll look at like I'm one of these actors that, if there's an opportunity to look at playback, this is probably, you know, rule number one that you don't let an actor do, right?
Mm,
Is look at himself, watch the
sure.
daily playback or whatever. But I don't get in my head because I'm very critical of my performance. So it's like if something's not reading or I think I can do something more interesting, I can look at it and be uh I make tweaks, right? Objective
Sure.
critique
Well,
myself.
sometimes it's good to, I remember I was doing a little movie called Pretty Woman. And I was doing a scene with Richard Gere, right? And I play Julia Roberts' pimp in the film, and originally it was a much darker film, drugs, prostitution. It was called 3000, right? And I was
Yeah.
coming off a TV show, so I was doing big, I was the big bad pimp, having a confrontational scene with Richard Gere. I catch him in an alley and I'm threatening him, So, but when I was doing it, Richard Gere, this is a valuable lesson I learned from him. He's standing there in front of me and he's like, it's like freaking whispering. I'm going, I'm getting nothing from this guy, and I'm a big fan. I mean, I grew up watching, you know, Breathless and Officer and a Gentleman. I mean, and he's just literally doing nothing, and I'm like bouncing off the walls. I'm hands going, whatever. So next day, Gary Marshall comes to me. And he brings me into the dailies. He says, "Come here, I want you to see something." And I'm sitting there and I'm watching these dailies, and I'm literally bouncing off the freaking screen, and he's got all the power because he was doing nothing. And so we were talking about don't do anything. He's a professional film actor. He knows he doesn't have to do anything. He knows he's mic'd. He doesn't even have to raise his voice. But me, I didn't know. That was one of my first films. So I'm like, bing, bing, bing off the. So it was a valuable lesson for me to be able to watch the dailies and go, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Less is more.
there's I think what makes those movie stars and like James Garner had it, you know what I mean, is like this sort of like they've got this kind of confidence where like even if they're playing a bad guy, like they don't have to do much. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have to play the bad guy because they have that because they're so confident that but it makes them it gives them that movie star quality, right? That like when you walk in a room or when these guys walk in a room, they own it, like they light
Mm-hmm.
up the room, right? And it's like it's what differentiates movie stars from leading actors, from supporting actors, from it's like I think it's confidence, man. And and it's that first moment of contact. It's like I remember when I used to do scene work in New York in school, in acting school. There was that first moment when you walk through the door, right? And it could be so powerful and so rich. It's the same thing I think when producers are sitting there and an actor walks in and he owns the space and they take their glasses off and they all sort of position themselves and get ready to watch this guy because now he owns them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I used to do this thing in auditions in the room where like I would come in and I wouldn't say much. I'd just go, hey, nice to meet you. Be very nice. Pleasure, but thank you for having me. Blah, blah, blah. Do you have any questions? I don't think so. And I'd sit down. And if they were texting or they were, messing with stuff or I wouldn't open my mouth until every one of them was going, you know what I mean? Really? Because it gave me the power. And then I went like, and I could look at my sides, and I knew when every one of them that when I had them, and then I'd start,
Yeah.
and, and it worked. It's like yeah,
Yeah, you were owning the room. I tell my actors, there's the art of the audition, which I teach my actors here all the time. Your words are very powerful. right?
Yeah.
Like, when you walk into the room and say, how you doing today? And, I'm good. Well, cool. That's how they know you now. Good. You planted the seed of good into their brain because the word good came out of your mouth. So why don't you plant a bigger seed than good? I'm amazing. Thank you. Oh shit. I just planted an amazing seed, right?
Yeah.
You got any questions on the material? I've got this. Oh shit, I'm pretty fucking confident. I got this. Yeah, I literally, it's a verbal like Jedi mind trick. I like to play with them. And then you go in there and you leave a piece of your soul behind in that room, and you make them feel something, make them laugh, make them cry, whatever the given circumstance of the scene is, and walk out confident. That's it, man. Because you literally said, "This is who I am." You own the room, and you left a piece of you in there, and you made them feel it, and walked out confident. I teach that to my actors. They're booking jobs all the time because I know from my experience, every room, every movie poster I have in the studio, I know exactly what I did in that room, which was a choice to make them feel.
Yeah.
Like really make them feel like, how do I make them, if it's a sitcom, how do I make them laugh more than everybody else? How do I make them cry? I'll give you an example. I did a movie, Crash, that won couple Academy Awards, right? So I play an LAPD officer, who pulls over Terrence Howard's character in the movie the second time after Matt Dillon felt up his wife, right? So when I pull him over, he's not too happy, and I tell him, step out of the vehicle, get down on the ground, let me see your hands, whatever. And the scene is I'm about to shoot this guy. Right, I'm about to blow his head off because he's not listening to my commands. He tells me to suck his what, and I'm like, So Ryan Phillippe jumps in the line of fire and stops him from getting his head blown off. Right, I said, how do I make him feel that? How do I make them feel like they're going to have a gun? They got a gun to them. Now I can't come in with a gun, right? I can't come in with a prop gun. I can't do that, right? I didn't want to do this.
Right.
Get down on the ground. What is this? This is a finger. You're not scared, right? So I had this idea. I said, I had a black wallet, and I took my black wallet and I pulled it out like this. And I said, I held it and used it like a gun. All they saw something was black. And I commanded them, get down on the ground. Let me see it. And when I was finished, the casting director got behind her chair and she said, that was the scariest wallet I've ever seen. And I put my wallet back, and I knew I had that part. Because in that moment, for that brief second, they didn't know what the hell was going on. They saw something black and me yelling at them, and they were worried. And I made them feel exactly what the scene was about.
Yeah. Do you, and this is a question for you as a coach, do you talk about the relationship to the camera at all? I know this is an acting studio no, and you're supposed to pretend the camera's not there, and you're supposed to, but do you ever discuss how actors should be aware to a degree, and then let it go, maybe where the camera is and what is reading? And I mean, it's like, and this is a technicality that like when you're hitting marks or when you're doing stuff that's very technical and very specific. Yeah. I did Pacific Rim for Guillermo del Toro, and every shot of his was so specific. Like you had to be here and here and hit this, and and there were these massive camera moves that if you weren't positioned perfectly, they'd miss you and they'd have to do it again. And sometimes I find now, and it's not something that I worked on, but I find that, like, having worked in so many movies now, when I'm auditioning, right, I know where to be so that I'm getting the most out of what's being photographed. You know what I mean? I know where to put the camera. I know where to put the other actor. I know where my eyes need to be. You know what I mean? I know where to put my face in the lens so that, and I don't know if it's, I mean, I'm asking you, is that something that
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah. I teach that all the time. It's first off, like we talk about self-taping, right? You have to become, everybody. You're a little producer. You're the wardrobe lady. You're hair and makeup. You're the director of photography. So you got to know your frame and your eye line and your lights, and how to play towards camera, not looking into camera, but make it so the camera is feeling what's going on with your character. So, the technical aspects, I teach that all the time because you have to know. That's just going to make you a better actor. I mean, that's for you. You're a director. I can hear you talking. Oh, the camera pans around.
It's something, when I was studying, like you never talked about.
Yeah, no, I teach, I teach the craft, right? And my approach to the craft, look, I studied at Lee Strasberg in New York. My first play was at the Actors Studio in New York. That's where I come from. So I'm a method actor. So that's what I teach, but I teach a little bit of everything. I've studied, I think you should create your own method, whatever works for you. You have all your tools in your toolbox. But I teach stuff that nobody teaches. I teach how to take a punch. I came out to Hollywood.
Yeah.
My first acting job was the Fall Guy with Lee Majors, and I had a big fight scene.
But this is so valuable. I mean, yeah. Nobody taught that.
Listen, I've had my nose broken, right? For real, because I went to punch an actor I was doing a movie called Crossing the Mob, and I went to punch the actor, and the other actor went like this, and headbutted me in the face. I've had Arsenio Hall forget his choreography and hit me in the face with a flashlight and busted my lip. I fought Chuck Norris. I fought Sammo Hung. I've had, but during these, fight scenes or gunplay and stuff like that, I've gotten hurt. So I want to make sure that my actors know about gun safety, how to take a punch, how to act, for film,
important.
It's
so important because, and the other thing is when you're a novice, it's you feel like you have to get as close to the other guy as possible because it's got to be as real as possible. But, you don't understand that if you're throwing a punch from back here, it sells on camera, right? It's going to seem really weird away from the guy, but you're right. It's really valuable to know those things, and I studied with a gentleman named Michael Howard in New York City. I don't know if you know him, but it was Strasberg. I also went to the Neighborhood Playhouse, and I think there's value in both. Like I loved the repetition, idea of just kind of listening. Yeah, the Meisner technique, and I love Strasberg. So, but that stuff, being in Hollywood and coming out, you're going to do fight scenes. It's inevitable. You're going to, and having that kind of coaching or advice is invaluable.
Listen, I've been so blessed, as an actor. I've worked a lot. I've played every kind of character. I've studied. I've trained with the military. I did Jerry Bruckheimer's first foray into television, called Soldier of Fortune. I studied with, trained with Harry Humphreys and Matt Siglock, and I've had some, but I've had that training. I've trained with SWAT. I trained with LAPD. I trained with NYPD. I've had all of this training, so now I get to give it to my students. I've been, I've had some of my best friends are stunt guys in the business. Andy Dillon's, my best friend. We met on a film, we did with Dennis Hopper, 10th and Wolf, in Pittsburgh. But, I've been around the stunt game, and I've done all my stunts. I've had stuntmen in the business, but, I've learned so much that I want to pass that down to the next actor coming up, so they don't get hurt. They know, okay, listen, I was on a set doing a film in Texas, and the gun wrangler came over to me, and then we had these old Colt 45s, and he came into the, there was 4 people in a small room, and there's a shootout, and he shows me my Colt 45. So I said, he said, how loud are these things? So he said, they're full loads. I go, okay, well, can you fire it? I just want to hear it, so we were in the kitchen, and he pointed it at the refrigerator. I said, point at the refrigerator, and he fired it at the refrigerator, and it put a dent into the refrigerator. And I was like, whoa. I go, wait a second. I said, you're going to point that at me and just put a dent in the refrigerator? I go, we got a problem here. So,
did the projectile come out?
I think it wasn't
the pressure. It was the pressure.
I think it was the pressure of the load. It wasn't a projectile, but what would that do to my skin?
Well, this is like, because historically we use full loads.
Yeah.
They put it out a lot. they put out a flame sometimes about
Sure,
that.
I've got pictures with me shooting and flames coming out of the gun. I mean, even squib work. If you don't know how to use a squib, and you put your head down, you get that shit in your eyes. So it's
Now it's all airsoft, right? So
yeah.
they're switching very rarely, or you're going to find actual loads, being used. But a lot of these guys are using airsoft, and they're adding VFX flames in and post, and they're
Yeah, but we're old school. I mean, we come from
old school.
the
Yeah.
wire hanging down your leg, and charges coming out and blood,
Right.
those squibs turning around and burning a hole in your skin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's the beauty of what I do, what I love to do. My passion is teaching this so the other actors, they learn from my mistakes. Listen, this is the way, this is the path. Look, I've carved my path. I know how to get you to where you got to go. And if you listen to what I say and you go after it with a vengeance and don't let no's, every no brings you closer to yes, go get some no's, get in there, get dirty, be that warrior, go in there. Don't take no for an answer. I say, you want to take the island, burn the fucking boat. No boat. There's no boat back. When I came out to Hollywood at 18 with $200 in my pocket, I had a one-way ticket. Failure was not an option. When I went to look for an agent, back in 1985, I had a list from the Screen Actors Guild of Agents. I had a paper map and a bus, and I literally went knocking on doors, and I went through the A's, the B's, the C's, no, get lost, take a hike, boom. I kept banging on a door. I finally found an agent at Y, the Yanez Talent Agency. I had to go through all the no's to get one yes, and that one yes was an agent, rinky-dinky agency, but he got me my first audition, which was for an episode of The Fall Guy, which I used to watch on as a kid in Brooklyn, going fantasizing that, I'm going to be an actor. This is what I'm going to do. And it's like I manifested it. My first audition, it's for a guest star on the TV series The Fall Guy, and the character's name is Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's he's a trouble. He's a leader of a gang who's bullying kids to deal drugs. I mean,
Right.
if you can't, that's the biggest manifest job ever. I got in there and I learned very early on, like I'll tell you funny stories is I had a scene and I'm threatening this kid and I'm telling him, let me tell you something about me. I'm either going to be your friend or your enemy. So it's up to you. And you better remember your bodyguard's not around to protect you. Now, I didn't know any better. So I grabbed the casting director out of her chair and I started threatening her. And she went, time out, time out. She goes, time out. She goes, number one. She goes, never, ever, ever do that again. I go, I'm sorry, it's my first audition. She goes, you never, ever put your hands on a casting director. She goes, number two. She goes, you're not leaving town, are you? I go, no, why? She goes, because you got the part. I go, she goes, you can't tell the other actors in the lobby because I got to read them out of courtesy. I said, okay. I walked out into the lobby and said, go home. She told me I got the job, right? But I and got me Taft Hartley, got me into the Screen Actors Guild, got me a little money to get an apartment, right? And got my career off, right? But the valuable lesson I learned was I asked her, why'd she gave me the part? She said, you scared the crap out of me, kid. Light bulb. What was the scene about? The given circumstances of the scene was I was trying to put fear into another kid. And if he didn't deal drugs, I was going to beat him up. For that brief moment, I made that casting director feel exactly what the scene was about. So I've applied that in every audition. Read that script and go, why did the writer write this? What am I supposed to make them feel? And make them feel that.
Yeah. How is it driving the story, right?
Yeah. How do you fit in?
Picture? Why is this like, you got a guy with, I don't know, like sometimes these parts are at the beginning, you're going to go up for under fives, right? So you got 5 lines. How are these 5 lines facilitating, right? The scene, moving the scene forward, and that's all you have to put into it, right? That's it. It's like, so you don't know what the purpose of the character is, and it's funny. It's like my kid is, he's in his last year, my oldest, and
how many kids do you have?
How many what?
Kids do you have?
I have 2.
2.
So yeah, one wants to be a director, and the other wants to be in the film business on the business side.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but I'm having these conversations, especially now with my oldest, who's like in this last year, like last night he called me. He was like, Dad, what should I do when I get out of school? What's the, and so I'm advising, because one woman, he was, I think she was a studio executive, had maybe suggested that he come work for them, but I was like, you can't. I don't think that's a good idea, because that's not the world you want to be in, and you have to be ready to pick up and go do a movie, or be able to take off 3 weeks and go shoot your film, that your student film, right? Like, you've got to position yourself so that you're free to keep making your films. And as an actor, I think it's a bad move to get into stunts, right? I think it's a bad move to do extra work. I think I think that it's a better move to find your tribe, and to make short films, right? Like audition for, student films. There's a lot of these films coming out of USC, and these film schools are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting tape, and you're working with actors and young filmmakers, and you're meeting people. It's all meeting people, right? Like, at this point in my career now, I would say that 75% of my work comes from guys that I've already worked with.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, really, like, it's like, oh, hey, what's Martini doing? See if he wants to come do.
Yeah, but you know why? Because not only you're a talented actor, but you're a really nice guy. And I want to work with you, right? It's not like, like you were saying earlier. I mean, I've been in this business. I work with a lot of A-list actors, right? And some of them are real assholes. I don't want to work with them again, right? It's all about your reputation in Hollywood and your connections in Hollywood. And, it spreads, fast. Like, this guy's an asshole. I don't want to work with this guy anymore,
Yeah.
right? If you're going to go to war, I'm going to want somebody in the trenches that I know has got my back, and that is going to come, and we're going to go to battle together. I don't need somebody who's going to, be in their hotel room getting high and like, where is he? I'm losing money. I'm losing the light. Where's my actor? Oh, he can't find his wardrobe right now. What happened? I mean, it's like, I've been there. I produced a film, and I had that scenario, and it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I had an actor that was a problem actor.
Yes.
So you have to, your reputation is everything. Your relationships are everything. So, it's really about doing the work and being prepared and professional, and knowing that I can count on you on the day that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And I like you.
What's the number one thing that young actors ask you, like, in terms of breaking in? Like, what question do you get all the time?
How do I get an agent?
How do I get an agent?
Yeah, that's usually the biggest one. How do I get an agent, or how do I get started?
Yeah.
And I teach them. First, it's all, you want an agent? Okay, well, first you got to pay your dues. You got to go to work. Okay, like you did. You started a theater. You started doing plays. You got a good foundation of the craft. You studied the craft, right? Like you mentioned, yeah, go find your tribe. Make some films, write some scripts. I mean, today technology, you can, I mean, I don't even want to say it, but you can go to ChatGPT and say, write me a scene about two guys in a bar. One guy's a military vet. One guy's a scientist. Boom, it's going to spit one out. And then you can go in there and rework it, tweak it, change that, whatever. I mean, even if you're not a writer, like, you can actually get a piece of material this quick, right? Get some friends, rehearse it, shoot it, boom, boom. Now you're making movies.
So let me give you. So I went about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I went to a 3-day conference, panel discussions. With studio TV executives, showrunners, writers, etc. Right, and one of the panels was about AI, and this showrunner, you could tell he was very uncomfortable, but he said, look, it gives you something. It's a tool that you can use that can be, useful, right? Structurally, it's very good, and it'll give you, a starting point. But what AI doesn't give you is a scarred childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or street smarts, or so you have to instill the humanity into the story, right? But but you're right. Like, I mean, it's 2023, and if you can you know type in a few, I want to do whatever, give me an action movie in the style of Michael Bay and this and blah blah blah, and it pumps out, and then you can make it better.
Yeah.
Amazing. You got all these things to try. Like there's uh, a program that, so I did the last kind of like big film that I did. It was a small big film, but it was called The Tender Bar, right? For and George Clooney directed
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I remember didn't you like punch what's his name in the face?
That beat the shit out of Ben
Yeah,
Affleck.
yeah, Ben
He took it like a man.
Affleck.
Um, but the kid that I played the father to, not oh my god, Ty, I'll think of it, Ty. I'll think of it in a second. He started a company that the first round of funding was $30 million. Spielberg's now on his board of directors. DreamWorks did a deal with, and it's basically a technology that I can shoot a scene with you and I on an iPhone or on a Red, and I can input the footage through this program, replace you with a robot or a dog or a gorilla, and it mimics your facial expressions. It mimics the way the light hits you. It replaces you perfectly in the frame, and it's $90 a month.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, that scares me. Let's talk about that for a second. So we're in the midst of we've had quite a few strikes. We had the writer's strike, that's over. But now, we're in day 118 of the Screen Actors Guild, strike. And, one of the big things we're fighting for is this, protection from AI, because it is a little scary. For $90, you can do that. I mean, imagine what you can do for I mean, they could say, hey, I mean, they want to hire a background artist and they want to go, well, we're going to scan your image and we're going to use you for in perpetuity for whatever we want. I mean, they're going to put those actors that, fill the airport or that restaurant scene out of work.
I highly, yeah, it's terrifying. That
Yeah.
that element scares me. What excites me is that you can make these kinds of movies now for $90. You can add your VFX in, right? And it's like, I mean, back in the day, you needed a team,
Sure.
and create, so I mean, so for a young filmmaker like my kid, it's a really, I mean, and I told him, I was like, listen, dude, nobody is going to be putting out movies, as their thesis film using animation and VFX and this kind of, like, you got to do it.
Yeah, very cool.
And this is a calling card, like to step into Hollywood, because now you go, hey, here's my short film that's half animated, what Zemeckis was using, that kind of I forget the term. It's like animation, but he uses actors and animates them afterwards.
Yeah.
But really interesting that that's available to young filmmakers now. But you're right, they want to. I mean, I read today that the studios want to take scans of actors that have passed and bring them back into movies, and there's no royalties to the families. There's no.
That's ridiculous. It's crazy that they can actually do that.
But we need to figure it out, because that's where we're headed, right?
Listen, I just finished writing a film. Well, actually, he directed you, George Gallo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So George,
you wrote it with George?
Yeah, me and George wrote a film based on my life. So yeah,
based
I love
on your
George.
life.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be making this film, but there's like I got bit by the acting bug when I was 11 years old. They were filming a movie in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. I was a little boy coming down the street and I saw all the cameras in the trucks and David Proval and James. They were filming a movie in my block, and they had a bungalow and they set up base camp on my block. So, I was a little boy coming home from the park and I saw all the trucks and the cameras like, well, what's going on here? We're making a movie. I go, how do you get in a movie? I want to be in a movie, So Morgana King, who played Marlon Brando's wife in The Godfather, she showed me a picture and a resume. I ran home, took a Polaroid picture, wrote some shit down on a piece of loose leaf paper, ran down the street, said, here's my picture and resume. She got a kick out of it. She said, oh, go, gave it to the director. The director said, go home, kid, get your parents, we're going to stick you in a movie. I ran home, Mom, they're going to stick me in the movie. She's like, you stay in the house. You don't know what kind of movie they're making. Long story short, I ran down, told the director, my mother doesn't believe you. And I dragged him to the house. And he said, hi, my name is Paul Williams. I'm the director of this movie. We want to put your son in the film. We're gonna pay him. My mother goes, you're gonna pay him? Go ahead, take him. So I show up. I was background, but I show up, and there's another kid in the film that was one of the, had a big part in the film, and he looked just like me, and I'm 11. So when I showed up to set, everybody thought I was him. So they were calling me Glenn, and they gave me the powder on my nose, and I got craft services, and I sat in a chair, and while all the extras over there, I played along. Yeah, I'm Glenn, but I got bit by the bug, right? So a year later, they were filming Saturday Night Fever in my neighborhood, and I watched John Travolta, Vinnie Barbarino come out of his trailer, and I watched him film, and I got his autograph, and the screaming girls, and I was like, this is when I was like, I want to do that, But I want to cast John in the film playing himself, but I want to de-age him back to and recreate the scene in the movie from Saturday Night Fever.
George just did a movie with him. I mean, they
yeah,
buddies, yeah.
Yeah. I know. I want Al Pacino to play my father. So I mean, and I'm going to win 2 Oscars, one for Best Picture, and one for Best Original Screenplay. I'm just putting it out.
Come on, man. George Gallo did Midnight Run.
Yeah, that was great. One of my favorites.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
So talented. That's exciting. I love it.
I'm really excited about it. Yeah. That's my baby. I've been giving birth to it, so I can't wait to I want the strike to be over so I can make a movie.
Me too.
So hey, so I know you. Final question. If you could go back, right, and give the little you, right, some life advice, right, about life, what would it be?
I think it would be to not change a thing, and I say that because I had probably, like you and so many others, had a difficult upbringing, difficult childhood, difficult road. I was on my own at 16. I was like living in New York City, trying to, jumping turnstiles and hustling and
we had the same childhood.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But it makes it gives you life experience, and it gives you substance and things to draw from, right? And it's like, bring to the room what right? Like it's without that, I don't know what you talk about. You got to bluff your way through it. You know what I mean? It's like you got to draw from what you know and what you have, and even if you didn't have that kind of a past, it's still, you got to use what you got. And if you find yourself wanting to be part of a creative world where your job is to connect with other people that you don't know emotionally, then you must have something to say, right? And so that's what I would say, because I remember growing up, I kept thinking, fuck, I wish I was different. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. Look on this kid's over here. He's got this. And, I remember being really envious of other kids and what they had. But looking back, I think what I had was golden, and so, yeah, that's what I would say.
I love that. Yeah. I'm ran away from home at 15, broken home, abusive parent. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, I was running the streets. I saw my best friend get shot in the head in front of me when I was 16. I look back at all that now, and I'm really grateful for it, because, my mess is my message now. I had to go through everything I had to go through to become who I am today. The teacher I am today, the father I am today, the husband I am today. I had to go through it. So, I used to think it was like it happened to me. Now I know it happened for me. It was all a gift. Everything that happened was a gift. Even some of my darkest moments, those times is where I grew the most. So I'm truly grateful for everything that happened to me in my life. And today I'm celebrating my 57th birthday. I never thought I'd make it to 18. So I am so grateful. I woke up, I'm like, wow, what a beautiful life that I have. So I'm super grateful, and I'm really grateful to you. I know I mean, we met, a couple of days ago, and I was like, I'd love to have you on my podcast, and then I threw this at you last minute. So I'm really grateful that you came on and shared your wisdom and knowledge on the podcast.
I'm so excited to have been part of it, and I hope that the advice is valuable for somebody. So thank you for having me, man.
So I'm just putting this out there. So I actually put an Instagram post out the other day, right? I was at a restaurant in the pizzeria in the Valley, right? And I ran into Danny Trejo at the restaurant, right? And I saw him, over there, and I'm a fan of his work, so I walked over to him and I introduced myself, and I said, Danny, it's I'm a big fan of your work. It's a pleasure to meet you, whatever. And I said, I'm an actor too, and I said, one of these, I'm surprised we haven't worked today. One of these days we're gonna work together. And he kind of laughed or whatever. And I went down and sat and ate my pizza. Shortly after, I get cast opposite him in a film, and I go to the table reading, and I look at him. He's across the seat, the chair from me, and I go, "Remember me?" So I truly believe the power of the word. You speak stuff into existence. Especially if you're going after it with a vengeance. Yeah, I'm gonna go get that. So I'm telling you right now, me and you're gonna work together.
Do it.
All right. I look forward to it.
I'll call George.
All right. Max, seriously.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Loved it. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Our brother.
All right. Take care.